Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. My name is Melissa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about a TQA that was issued by the AICPA with respect to the Department of Education's new related party disclosure requirements. So obviously when the Department of Ed puts out certain requirements, that raises questions by auditors about, especially disclosures, what is my responsibility for these disclosures, particularly in this case when they go above and beyond GAAP. So the TQA was issued back in June of 2024, the TQA was issued in June of 2024. The actual Department of Ed guidance was issued in October of 2023, and so over a period of time, as universities started to take a look at this, the numbers of questions that came in were pretty significant. So the AICPA decided to issue a TQA to provide guidance to audit firms around this responsibility. So the TQA is titled Related Party Disclosure Requirements Issued by the U.S. Department of Education for Institutions of Higher Education, also known as colleges and universities. But the Department of Education issued 34 CFR Part 668, which was financial responsibility, administrative capability, certification procedures, and ability to benefit. So it's a very large standard. It's not just specifically these disclosures, but that was issued back in October of 2023. And the disclosure requirements include a requirement that these universities that participate in Title IV funding, which is student aid, which most universities do, would be required to disclose in their financial statements, and here's the key term, all related party transactions based on the definition in FASB 850, which is related parties. So using that related party concept, they wanted all, including things like addresses. And obviously those disclosures go beyond GAAP, which simply requires material related party transactions, and again, not at the same level of detail as what the Department of Ed was looking at. So the inquiry received by the AICPA was, what are the audit and reporting implications of this particular requirement? And the response focuses on a couple of core areas of the audit standards, in particular paragraph A13 of section 320, which says that we know that there are certain factors that may indicate the existence of one or more particular classes of transactions, account balance, or disclosure, for which there is a substantial likelihood that misstatements of lesser amounts than materiality for the financial statements as a whole would influence the judgment made by a reasonable user based on the financial statements. And so we talk about sort of performance materiality, and then we get into tolerable misstatement when we drop it down for a particular class of transactions, account balance, or disclosure. So if we would consider, and we should, the Department of Ed to be a reasonable user of the financial statements, then we may have to use a materiality lower materiality for these disclosures than we otherwise would. So basically, considering that the Department of Ed has an interest in this, and there is a substantial likelihood or reasonable expectation that a misstatement smaller than materiality for the financial statements would be considered material for the user, and in this scenario, the user would be the Department of Education. So we want to consider, first off, as part of our audit, what materiality makes sense. However, again, a lot of these requests are beyond the requirements of GAAP, right? The name, the location, a description of that. And so, as a result, these are above and beyond what is required to be disclosed per the financial reporting framework. In addition, it has to disclose all related party transactions, which is above and beyond. So while materiality is set at a lower level, it still is not going to equate to or require identification of all misstatements or omissions, right? So again, we only provide reasonable assurance. So we can drop our materiality, but it's still not going to give us, all of the coverage. And so it recognizes that we may have to adjust our audit procedures, but we can also have the opportunity under section 700 is information that's in there is not part in the financial statements is not required by the financial reporting entity, and therefore is not necessary for fair presentation. We can mark it as unaudited as long as we can call attention to it. So here's an example disclosure here for note Y, related party disclosures required by the U.S. Department of Ed. We can then mark that particular section and the heading unaudited. And then obviously that is not going to have the same level of responsibility because, again, it's above and beyond what's required for the financial statements per the financial reporting framework. So you can still get fair presentation without it. So this is an opportunity as well in the reporting area to limit our exposure to these additional items. So obviously, hot topic in the world of universities, which often have 531 and 630 year ends. So we're kind of knee deep in these audit standards right now. So hopefully this is a little bit of a reminder of some of the opportunities. The standard does have a little bit more detail about different paragraphs. So I would recommend that you read the TQA and kind of walk through it for your consideration when you're dealing with institutions of higher education. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on a future blog. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.